Hello there guys, it's Stephen here back with another video. It's a very cold, very miserable, dreary night in Manchester, but tonight I'm going to look away from that weather and talk about the glorious football in Manchester City that's warmed us all up yesterday. Absolutely wonderful players. City beat Aston Villa 6-1. I'm going to look at 5 things that I personally took from that game. But before I do that, I want to say thank you, as ever, to One Football, who continue to be an absolute beacon of positivity for me and my channel. A wonderful app, wonderful supporters of this channel, and loads of Manchester City news as it breaks straight to your phone. So if you want all the notifications and not to miss out on any news, of course, subscribe to this channel. And then go and download One Football in the link in the description below. It gives you all the updated news from Manchester City and all the Premier League news and all the transfer news that you need to know about. So go and download it right now. But today, we're going to talk about Manchester City's 6-1 victory against Aston Villa. It was a comprehensive, it was a fun victory. It was a victory full of magic, full of wonderful goals, full of moments are the kind of things that you watch football for. It was an absolutely wonderful display from Pep Guardiola's men, and there's loads and loads and loads to talk about. I'm going to start initially, because I have to start here. How can we not start with Sergio Aguero? Yesterday, I did not expect that performance from him. Genuinely, no. Obviously, we all know how good Sergio Aguero is, but recently he's obviously been injured and whatever. And he's been trying to find his best form. And out of nowhere yesterday, genuinely kind of out of nowhere for me, he just looked fast. He just looked creative. He just looked like he was totally and utterly on it. I'm going to guess he sensed blood, and the blood was Thierry Henry's record as an overseas player. And he went for that, and he went for it with brutality. He absolutely put Aston Villa to the sword yesterday in a sumptuous performance that really turned heads in a nice way. And it was really good to see the collective public talk about Aguero with the credit that he deserves. Now, in general, I think he's been slightly ignored for some personal awards, which is an absolute crying shame, but he's a fantastic striker that the Premier League will miss. Not just Manchester City fans, that the Premier League will miss when he's gone. Maybe not defenders, if we're being honest, but he's a world-class player and the kind of person that we want to see in the Premier League. Now, just look at those stats for Aguero. 255 appearances and 177 goals. Basically, in the same amount of appearances, 254, one less. Henry has 274. So they've got a nearly identical record, but Aguero's just about tips it. It's an absolute incredible feat just to be up there with Thierry Henry. Henry is a phenomenal footballer. I really can't separate the two, and obviously I'm biased there. Henry obviously has that assist kind of thing. I would argue that in general, Aguero's probably done it in a slightly harder era. That's my personal opinion. Some people might disagree, but I think Henry, the late 90s, in the early 2000s, the Premier League wasn't quite what it is now, in my humble opinion, and Henry made the most of that. Still, that's not to detract from anyone. Both world-class players, and I'm glad people are really sitting up and noticing exactly what Sergio Aguero started to do. The one thing that really struck me yesterday is his movement, his intelligence, his desire. It wasn't just the fact that he wanted to score goals. It was the fact that he was linking up so well. Sometimes when Aguero gets back from injury, he can look really slow to react to certain situations. He can look not quite as sharp, and the ball can bounce off for him. Yesterday, he looked fast. He was linking up with people. He was pressing from the front, and it was a really tenacious leaders kind of performance. It really, really does break my heart to think that one day, probably as close as 18 months, that he might not be at Manchester City anymore. How can you replace someone like him? The answer is you can't. You just become different. Hopefully, we'll find someone like Lautaro Martinez or something like that to step into his shoes and forge their own legacy. But for now, we just got to enjoy what we can, because Sergio Aguero is a genuine genius. He's a genuinely huge person for this club. Hopefully he'll get a statue there, rightfully so, alongside someone like Vincent Kompany. And hopefully we see plenty more goals before he hangs up his blue shirt for the last time, which is terrifying. On to his strike partner, Gabriel Jesus. I wanted to draw a bit of attention to him because I thought yesterday we saw the brilliance of Gabriel Jesus in an understated way. Now, recently we've all been kind of struggling with Raheem Sterling's form because it hasn't been best, if we're being honest. We've all been crying out for Guardiola to make some changes on that front, because Sterling is a fantastic player. But just like anyone, Raheem Sterling is human. Every now and then, a player will drop out of form. It can be for an absolute host of reasons. It could be as simple as that he's not comfortable on the left-hand side. It could be as simple that he's not playing much. There could be something personally that we don't know going on. Either way, it's inevitable. Players will drop out of form. It doesn't mean they're not top class anymore. Sterling is still a phenomenal player and rightfully one of the most valuable forwards in world football. But even he sometimes needs a break. And Gabriel Jesus yesterday showed the versatility that makes him such an exciting prospect. Like, And what I loved about him yesterday is that he gave so much space for the front three to really work the magic, himself included, of course. But Aguero and Gabriel Jesus and Mahrez, their movement was absolutely fantastic throughout the game. And obviously, he's a lot more comfortable on the left, in my humble opinion, than Raheem Sterling is, because for one, he's not scared of using his left foot, as that goal showed. Now, that's the one thing that we all thought about Raheem Sterling over the past couple of years, is that when Leroy Sané or someone got the ball on the left, who was there at the back post, it was Raheem Sterling to tap the ball in. And that's what he's not really done on the left as much, because he's not maybe as quite as comfortable with his left foot. Whereas Gabriel Jesus, he's a striker. Even though he may not be a great finisher on his left, he's definitely comfortable attempting to finish it. And his run to the back post there showed something that we've not had for a long time. A left foot, basically a player on the left side willing to get to the back post and finish, and he did it well. And it was generally just his work, where some of his touches in tight spaces, his ability to hold the ball, his ability to be selfless for the team makes him such a useful asset. And he's only 22 as well. His record and his stats speak for themselves, and he's a fantastic player. And I just wanted to pull him out a little bit, because he's really, 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 really good. Also, as well, we can't really ignore the fact that our form is just getting better, you know? Like City, it feels like at the moment, everything's starting to come together for Manchester City. And other than that United game aside, the one where we lost against United, everything kind of feels really, really good. And obviously the Wolves game as well. But if you look at the results, I don't really feel like the Aston Villa game was that much different to the Man United game. The only difference really was the clinical nature of our forwards yesterday. City took the chances with a ruthlessness that the best teams have. Like, I know we did miss some chances towards the second half, but in the first half, the quality of the goals was wonderful. It's the kind of goals that the best teams score, the really high quality ones that the teams defending go, well, what can we do about that? Like the Aguero finish, or De Bruyne's incredible assist, or Mahrez's first goal. That kind of stuff, even though obviously they may feel that they can defend a bit better, it's just moments of sheer inspiration. And it feels at the moment our form is starting to come together. Like the Villa game, United, then you got a good victory against Everton, against Sheffield United, against Leicester, against Arsenal. We're starting to get on a bit of a run, in my humble opinion, and we're starting to see the players come back to form. This new formation, this slight tweak seems to be suiting certain individuals. We've got Mendy and Cancelo getting back into form, and I'll talk about one of those two later on in the video. And we got basically everyone coming back to fitness. Touch wood, of course. So we've got like Laporte coming back soon, maybe Sané. And I'm wondering if we're starting to gear up for something that could be quite special towards the end of the season. Now, the league has gone, of course, but we could be playing our way into form for the Cups, and that would be very, very exciting, isn't it? Because if we carry on this direction, this upward curve that we're currently on, City could be genuinely a quite formidable beast in the Champions League. Fingers crossed these signs are as encouraging as they look, because in my opinion, City look very good at the moment. I think people aren't really, maybe they're not talking about it because for obvious reasons, because we're only, we're just behind Liverpool by a long way, and rightfully so, in my humble opinion, because we've not been good enough. But I don't think people are quite realising that this machine, in my opinion, is starting to kind of chug into gear, and it could be quite fun to watch. Now, fourthly, I need to talk about RIYAD Mahrez. He was the title of this video. Mahrez is becoming indispensable for Manchester City. I saw an incredible stat today about Mahrez. He's been directly involved in a goal once every 99.5 minutes on average for Manchester City. That's 4,378 minutes, 23 assists and 21 goals. He's getting really good. Now, obviously, he's always been very good, but I think I don't think that's some controversial thing to say. I think he's taken a while to get up to pace with Manchester City's style. He's now pressing a lot better than he ever did. He's always been very talented, and he's always shown moments where he can press, but I think he's taken a little bit of time to get adapt to being not the main man, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's only human. It takes a bit of time, and I've been critical of him sometimes, and so has other fans, and that is also totally fair. You'll have to say when a player isn't playing that well, and this is one of the reasons why he didn't start that much at times last season. That's not to negate his talent at all, but being talented isn't enough to always be useful sometimes. But at the moment, he's showing exactly how good he is. And what I really like about RIYAD Mahrez at the moment is that he's not perfect. And what I mean by that, and trust me on this, hear me out, I like that his imperfections are very useful. Like sometimes Mahrez can hold the ball a little bit too long. There's a couple of occasions yesterday when he tried to beat one man too many, when he should have found a pass. And that's frustrating. That is frustrating sometimes, yes. But what makes that brilliant is sometimes he'd be more inclined to do something special that can change a game. Now look at that first goal yesterday. He decided, you know what, I'm just going to try and beat a couple couple of men and put one in the bottom corner. Whereas City at that point were passing the ball around quite nicely. Villa were largely kind of comfortable defensively, and it could have been that if we kept it, to that rhythm, kept passing it around, we might have not broke Villa down. And sometimes what you need is a bit of a moment of inspiration. Mahrez is the exact kind of player sometimes that can do that. Yes, sometimes he may frustrate, but when he's in that kind of form, he can just be that difference it needs to maybe kind of give City the kick-off to go on and batter a team. And Mahrez yesterday was showing just how useful he can be. I think it's always that he's going to be sometimes maybe holding onto the ball a little bit too long. I think that's just part of who he is. But in general, I think we saw how useful he can actually be. He's a fantastic player, an absolute great performance yesterday, and he's really growing into the role. And as Guardiola pointed out today, he doesn't get injured because Guardiola said he's got no muscle on those legs, so he's called him chicken legs, basically. But it's true, he's a wiry guy, and as a result, he's not going to get any muscle strains, fingers crossed. But Mahrez, a fantastic player, and really starting to show. I know some people would argue what he has, but either way, no one can doubt it at very least how good a player he actually is. He's fantastic. And finally, I want to talk about Joao Cancelo because I don't think I really talk about him much on this channel because there's not been that much to talk about. I wouldn't say he was by far the best player of Manchester City yesterday, but I thought it was notable just how comfortable he looked in the team yesterday. Now, obviously, he should look comfortable. He's a fantastic player at a high level. But I really want to talk about him today because we get a really good game. And I also wanted to talk about how it feels like him and the wing-backs, like Mendy, for example, are really starting to settle into this new system. Now, I think Kyle Walker will always be Guardiola's favourite because Walker is reliable. He's an absolute physical beast, and he suits the Premier League down to a T. But Cancelo yesterday, just look at those stats. 128 touches, 2 shots outside the box, 1 key pass, 95% pass completion, which is 96 passes completed, 11 duels, 1 out of 17, 5 successful dribbles, 8 ball recoveries, 4 successful tackles out of 5, and 3 interceptions. The idea that he can't defend is it's a common one, but yesterday he showed some really impressive signs of being how useful he can be when on a team that's defending from the front foot. Cancelo yesterday was everywhere. There was one run, unfortunately, the camera didn't really cut back and show a replay. That was so good where he burst past an Aston Villa defender. He just looks totally at home at the moment. I'm really hoping that Cancelo can really start to find his rhythm in Manchester City shirt because even though I do love Kyle Walker, I think it's fair to say Cancelo offers a lot more going forward. And I think we've only really scratched the surface of how good he can be in a Manchester City shirt. Basically, there's a lot of positivity here. It just feels really nice to talk about City just playing good football and players starting to really look at home. And then we've got players coming back from injury soon. And it's just very good. Yesterday was fun. I needed that yesterday for Manchester City. So thank you, Guardiola. Thank you, Manchester City, for making that such a fun game. I was tired and I needed City to be less stress-free, and they were just good, and it was great. I know we're always good usually, but yesterday was very good, and there was loads of interesting little talking points. Anyway, guys, that is what I took from the game. Let me know in the comments below what you took from the game personally. Go watch my match reaction video yesterday, of course, and make sure you subscribe if you are to this channel. Loads of Manchester City content. Hopefully, loads more to come as well. Like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Download OneFootball. Please download OneFootball. It massively helps this channel. Fingers crossed you'll all download it in the link in the description below, and I'll see you soon. That's not even a word. Soon.